Hi guys, good morning. It's John with Empire Weather. Today is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. Agriculture update for the United States really starting to ramp up as we head into March. And these will ramp up obviously even more into April as we get ready for the United States growing season. The weather pattern has been what we like to call here at Empire Weather fake spring. And that is one thing we're going to experience here in the next couple of weeks, is that the spring we thought we were starting is not quite ready to start yet. The weather is quiet today, and it'll remain that way. Blustery northwest winds in New England as this low pressure system slides through, but across the vast majority of the United States, there's not that much going on. That will change as we head to the middle of the week. So we'll have two waves that'll come out through the central United States. This first one here across the southern plains will produce rain, showers, and storms Wednesday night into Thursday and Friday. That'll slide off to the east. And then we will get this light wave producing a swath of snowfall across the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. This will be the first in a series of waves that will produce snow and winter weather across the northern plains. We have a high pressure draped here over Canada. You see that elongated high, and we have moisture sliding in underneath it, and that's the recipe for winter weather. So rain across the southern plains Thursday into Friday, and then we get this system coming through. Figure a couple inches of snow for the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. That wave slides off to the east into parts of Wisconsin and Michigan Friday. Some additional snowfall possible there, and then into New England after that. But the real story is going to be what comes of this storm system that develops later this week. So first of all, this low pressure forms off the East Coast with some showers and storms there, but look at this deep low coming out of the Rockies and pushing up against this high pressure. That is the recipe for what we call overrunning snowfall, where the moisture overruns the cold and the high pressure presses down, the low pressure presses up, and you get bands of very heavy snow. So the models are suggesting a winter storm late this weekend across the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. This is Saturday into Sunday, and that continues into Monday. That first wave shoots off into Canada, into parts of the Canadian prairies, and then Monday we get another wave that wraps up behind it, possibly producing more snow across parts of Iowa and Minnesota into early next week. And that deep low pressure wraps up. The final snowfall totals, the models right now, this is the European ensemble mean, with a swath of 6+ inches from the central Dakotas into Minnesota and Wisconsin, and a band inside of that where over 10 inches of snow is possible total over the next week or so as this system evolves. So this area has not seen a lot of moisture. This will be really beneficial moisture with this snow and then the eventual snow melt with this system. This area has really missed out on a lot this winter. So them getting this snow late winter, this is actually a pretty good thing, as frustrating as it is to have to deal with snow in late March. So that system moves off to the north and east, and the weather pattern behind it obviously gets colder because that low pressure system pulls in quite a bit of cold. So here's Thursday. This is this week. So we get this cold shot late this week and weekend. Then the storm system evolves, and just an even deeper shot of cold that comes down into the central plains here. This is Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. I want to watch for sub-freezing overnight lows. I know it's very early in the season, but it's possible that we get some sub-freezing temperatures even down into areas like Oklahoma and Texas on Tuesday of next week. So I want to watch that carefully. It's a little late in the season to be getting freezing temperatures all the way down here. So this is a pretty notable cold shot. Want to watch that closely. But the big cold will be up here, Dakotas, Minnesota, where that winter storm just evolved this weekend and early next week. That cold will then settle throughout the United States next week, and that takes us through the end of March. So if you remember from our last couple of videos, this is pretty much exactly what we were expecting, right? We were expecting late March to turn colder, chance of some winter weather. And then that was step 1 and 2. And then step 3 in the forecast was a transition in April. And we are on track for all of those things. Here's the latest MJO forecast. I talk about this a lot, but basically all we need to look at here is the progression of these blues and greens and the progression of the reds and oranges. So here's our current MJO wave, this blue and green. Here's today. And you can see it sliding left to right across the Pacific. That's helping to incite this colder pattern and the presence of this storminess. But look what happens by early April. That MJO comes back out into the Indian Ocean right here, phases 1 and 2, and it stalls in what we call a standing wave. You get these little waves coming out, but overall it's stalled, and that is a major pattern change in what we call a jet retraction. So when you have this long, extended propagation happening here. The jet stream extends and then it rips right back. And when that happens, the weather pattern changes very quickly. The European weeklies suggest that the trough will back way up to the west coast. It'll be sitting on the west coast as we move into early and mid-April. And that sets the jet stream up right into the central United States. This is a setup for very active stormy weather and warmer weather across the central United States in April. And you see the weeklies agreeing with that. Our seasonal forecasts have had this for a while, but now we're seeing it move up in time and come into fruition on the models. This is a very, very active looking April. I'm not quite worried about planting delays just yet, but we will need to watch it. Obviously, this is a very wet forecast, so we need to watch it. But the overall idea here with this pattern is that the risk will be heightened for increased warmth in the central and east, as well as storminess, severe weather possible as we move into April. This is a setup where you will have a dry line sitting here in Oklahoma and Kansas, and you'll fire storms off that dry line with complexes going back into the Ohio Valley and Midwest throughout the month of April and continuing into May. Now, the European seasonal forecast continues to show very active weather through April and May. This is the March, April, May, and this is the April, May, June. But I want you to look specifically down here across the southern plains. While we have all this moisture going on in the plains and the Ohio Valley, this is an area that I worry about as we head into the springtime, because La Niñas are notorious for building heat and drought in this region as we head into spring. And as we move into April and May, we see the drought building here across Texas, up towards Lubbock and Amarillo and New Mexico. And as we move this forward into May and June, we see that drought pushing northward into parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Colorado. And the expansion of this will eventually impact this pattern across the Ag Belt as we move deeper into the summer. So this is the area that I'm worried about this year, the southern plains in particular, and then the expansion of that drought as we head into summer, depending on how fast the La Nina develops. But until then, we have a very, very wet and active weather pattern coming across the majority of the plain states. And as we head into April, it looks likely that the cold will retreat back up and we'll get into a very active stormy pattern for the majority of April. So stick with us. We'll have a lot more updates over the next couple days. The forecast going pretty much exactly according to plan for now. If you have questions, give us a shout. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.